Assalamualaikum dear students, this is your teacher Karshan Ali and you are here to learn Pakistan Studies Paper 1 History and Cultures topic, the Round Table Conferences. Before going towards Round Table Conferences, I must give you a brief why the Round Table Conferences actually happened. Way back in 1909, the Britishers gave their very first reforms in the Indian subcontinent known as the Morley Minto reforms. In the Morley Minto reforms, they promised that in every 10 years they are going to give more reforms to India and they are going to give more power to the Indians in running their own country. So in 1919, they gave Montez-Chelmsford reforms, in which the diarchy, means the partnership rule in the provinces, was included too. But still, since the Indians were looking forward towards the self-rule or the dominion status or the independence, they highly criticized the Montez-Chelmsford reforms. After 1919, the Britishers were bound to give the new reforms by 1929. But in United Kingdom, in actual England, the situation was changing. So what was that? The elections are going to happen in the year 1928 in England. And in that, the Conservative Party, the Lords, which were the actual rulers of England, were threatened by the growing strength of the Labour Party, which was the party of the middle class in England. And since the Labour Party already gave their manifesto that they are very much kind and merciful towards the British occupied colonies, and they were ready to give many of them as dominion status or self-rule kind of things. India was such a golden sparrow that the Britishers cannot just let go. So in order to assure and ensure that even if the Labour Party government comes in England, they wanted to safeguard, they wanted to have a surety that India and other colonies cannot go out of their hands. So for this, 2 years before the actual tenure of giving reforms in 10 years, apart from sending the new agenda or new framework in 1929, they rather send it in shape of Simon Commission in 1927. Simon Commission came, it has suggested many things, but it was opposed, disliked and dishonored by and disapproved by the whole Indian nation. Muslims, Sikhs, Parsis, Christians, Hindus, everyone. One of the reasons because the Simon Commission has not included any of the Indian in deciding how India should be governed. So due to this thing, political instability was there in India, and there has to be a decision that who should rule India, who will come into the partnership, and how the provinces, the princely states, and the whole federation of the Indian government would go in future. On this point, the Britishers gave this solution. Rather to decide it within Indian boundaries, they have decided to make a final decision in England. In London, UK's capital, they called a conference known as Round Table Conference. Now, why the Round Table Conference? Round Table Conference gives kind of an equal honor to every seat. Just you can see that in a rectangular table, on either side of the table, it looks like that somebody is chairing the meeting. But in round table, that is absolutely and categorically not the case. So Britishers very smartly were giving the message to the Indians that they consider Indians as the equal parts in running and deciding the fate of their country. In 1930s, the very first Round Table Conference happened. It was held in London. Congress major leadership was already imprisoned in India due to many reasons. Muslim side, Qaeda Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Maulana Muhammad Ali Jauhar, Maulana Shaukat Ali, and other big leaders, including Chaudhry Rahmat Ali, were there. And all the Muslim leadership left with this feeling that some ground for the Muslims' right has been gained. But unfortunately, it was quite a bitter truth that without the presence of the proper leadership of the Congress, any kind of promise, any kind of terms and condition could never be finalized. In 1931, the Second Roundtable Conference happened. At that time, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel, and major leadership has negotiated with the British. They came out of the prison, but unfortunately, they took a very hard line in the Second Roundtable Conference in 1931, and the conference ended without any kind of result. To make a final attempt in 1932, another conference was held at the same place. But unfortunately, due to the absence of the major leadership from the Muslim League side as well as the Congress side, and no decisive move was made, so the Britishers gave their final verdict that since the Indian politicians are not serious enough to solve the political problems of India, they are having too many issues turning into the conflicts between them. They cannot even agree on a single term. So it is the Britishers' right to decide that how India should be governed in future. So we can easily say by looking at these events that apart from the first roundtable conference, the other two were total failure, and the first roundtable conference could not even get the complete success without the agreements with the Congress leadership. So we can say that it was a total failure, and that gave Britishers a chance to come back into the major political decisions of the Indian subcontinent. Thank you.